Transport, Tourism and Sport, the need to consider regulation of the fitting of location tracking devices in all vehicles here to address theft. Minister, are you taking this? Yeah. Deputy Noel Harrington has 4 minutes.
Thank you, Cathaoirleach, and I want to thank the Minister for remaining as late as he has on the Thursday evening. We've drawn this on the Thursday evening. We've drawn the short straw. Cathaoirleach, crime, of course, is an issue that needs constant and careful consideration and investment. It is a ubiquitous issue that invariably becomes heated in advance of a general election, and there is a real security threat that should and can be dealt with simply by better use of technology. Much of the recent hyperbole surrounding rural crime fails spectacularly in offering real solutions. And Cathaoirleach, I mentioned in the last debate, you can install or we can acquire for a couple of euro software on this phone that, should it be lost or stolen, even if it is switched off, can be tracked down anywhere in the world, very, very simply and very easily. In almost every rural crime and any crime, there is a common denominator. If the criminals are travelling by car to commit a crime, they're not travelling in their own cars. Those cars are stolen. Almost all of them could be stolen months or weeks in advance in preparation for the crime. But what I'm proposing in this debate is the rollout of tracking devices or software to be installed on a phased basis, even retrofitted on all cars and vehicles in this Republic. Of tracking devices or software to be installed on a phased basis, even retrofitted on all cars and vehicles in this Republic. The cars or vehicles with this software or devices installed, if a car was stolen, when reported to the Gardaí with either a password or a key, would allow the Gardaí, and only the Gardaí, to track it electronically. It would not be for the owner to be tracking a stolen car. It would expose that person to a great risk, inevitably. The most vulnerable time, or period of time, after a car is stolen is the time between it leaves that driveway of an innocent home to the time it goes into a secure lock-up or a breaker's yard. But criminals are, they have the knowledge that if they steal that car, they will blend into the streets and into the highways and into the motorways with other traffic. Such a tracking device, if it was activated, would allow that car, in technological terms, to light up like a Christmas tree. It would target resources, much demanded Garda resources, on tracking cars that are stolen, and not just looking at random efforts by the guards. It kind of makes sense that if a car is stolen and this software it became active, it would need, I think, in the first instance, the support and the cooperation of both the Department of Justice and the Department of Transport. And that's why I'm bringing this topical issue here. I'll be calling through the Minister that he would bring to the Department of Transport in this case to liaise with the Department of Justice to, under the auspices of a new capital plan where you have an increasing rollout of new technology in Garda stations, to begin the rollout phase of this technology. It would also, I believe, require the cooperation of the Society of the Irish Motoring Institute, SIMI, who, whether they like it or not, or whether they'll say it or not, and they will, of course, question this, but the fact is they do benefit from car theft because cars have to be replaced. They do benefit from car theft because cars get damaged and they need to be repaired. So we would have to have cooperation of SIMI, and a key cooperative element of this would be from the Insurance Federation of Ireland. So I'm asking for the Department to introduce incentives and legislation so that the an immediate policy would begin to roll out tracking devices, tracking software that would enable stolen cars to be taken out of the crime link, whether it is urban-based crime or rural-based crime. If you take the stolen car from the criminal, you're taking a vital cog in his apparatus. Thank you, Cathaoirleach.
Thank you, Deputy. And now Colin Tavish, Damien English.
Or her. Thanks, Chairperson. I'm taking this debate on behalf of our colleague in the Department of Transport who couldn't be here with us today, so sends his apologies. But I'd take the debate if he could. So I welcome the Deputy's intentions in raising this important issue here today. while the offence of taking a vehicle without the lawful authority of the owner is provided for in Section 102 of the Road Traffic Act 1961, matters relating to the investigation and consequent recovery of stolen vehicles are a matter for Garda Síochána. So as you say yourself, it is covers two departments, and I understand that you raise it for both departments as well. Setting aside any civil, libertarian or data protection considerations in relation to statutorily providing for the fitting of such tracking devices to motor vehicles, from a vehicle standards perspective, the Minister is not aware of any EU proposals mandating the fitting of location tracking devices for the specific purpose of tracking stolen vehicles. European regulations set out the type-approved requirements for Member States to adopt, so that no Member State may impose any additional requirements that would present a barrier to the cross-border trade in motor vehicles across the EU. While such tracking devices are currently available for purchase by individual car owners for fitting to their vehicles, the choice to purchase and use such a device is entirely a matter for the individual citizen. To legislate for the fitting of such devices would require that the appropriate standards, testing and verification procedures, as well as enforcement of a failure to fit such a device, would have to be carefully determined. In essence, providing for a legal requirement to fit such a tracking device would also involve making the failure to fit such a device a criminal offence. The Minister's primary function in relation to road traffic is to promote and to ensure that the most appropriate and best practice road safety and vehicle engineering safety standards are implemented, so that any potential road traffic collisions and consequent injuries and fatalities on Ireland's road network are reduced. Given the Minister's and the Road Safety Authority's primary remit in promoting road safety and the necessity to meet with EU type approval requirements in relation to vehicle standards, the Minister has no proposals to introduce regulations mandating the fitting of locations tracking devices in order to track stolen vehicles. But what I will do, Deputy, because in fairness, the example you raise is quite an interesting one, and there is benefits across many departments to it as well. So I certainly will inform both ministers of the suggestion that you made here today, actually the detail of this particular device. I'll inform both Minister Justice and Minister of Transport of your idea. I'll bring it to them. Also, we have a meeting next week with the Commissioner with some responsibility in this area with the competitiveness agenda. On that meeting, where we have down for discussion the whole Volkswagen situation, so there might be an opportunity there to raise something like this at a European level. And at that meeting will be myself and the Minister of Transport and Environment as well. So I'll certainly raise it there as well. And it's something that I would be happy to maybe pursue at a European level as well and to investigate, because I think if it is to happen, it would need to be at a European level that it will be dealt with as well.
To thank the Minister for his response. I acknowledge, and I know well, that there are devices that can be purchased by individual car owners and that they can use it for themselves, and it's entirely a matter for themselves. But what's the point? If your car is stolen and you can track it from your own phone or laptop to a lock-up or a breaker's yard that you know are being manned by criminals, what's the point? You can't pass that information really on to the Gardaí. If you can, and by the time you do, it's gone, it's too late. And those devices typically can be dismantled. And even with the proposal I'm saying, it may well be easy to dismantle them anyway. But what you're doing is you're getting it in that critical time between the theft and the storage of the car. And the deterrent factor in that, should a criminal realise or believe or even suggest or think that one of these devices is in the car, will he take it? Will he expose himself to a risk of being caught and like I said, being highlighted along the road and being under immediate Garda surveillance? I accept also that it needs a multi-agency approach, particularly with the Department of Transport and the Department of Justice. And this is an issue that we come across all the time, the silo effect of government. I have a responsibility in this department, I have a responsibility in this department, and when you have a proposal to deal with issues that traverse both departments, there's a problem. And I think that just needs to be dealt with. And I think the technology in this is there, and it's improving all the time. It's getting cheaper all the time. And I think if we can't get our heads around a legislative solution to putting in an existing technological framework that would, in my opinion, revolutionise the capacity for the Garda Síochána to combat crime, particularly mobile crime, we're essentially taking the legs from under the criminal. I think it needs a far greater impetus, it needs a far greater priority in government, particularly with the debate we've had just now and the debate we've had in the weeks past. So again, I would urge the Minister to again take it to the Minister for Transport, the Minister for Justice, and could I suggest that a feasibility study would be carried out and at least some pre-legislative work would be carried out to look at the pitfalls, because I think there's a solution here, or there should be a solution that could be found that would allow a legislative framework to develop within the technological framework that currently exists. And smart policing, you know, we're putting resources in, extra Gardaí, extra vehicles. You cannot, you know, the idea of putting in the technology to beat criminals is something that we should be seriously looking at. There's an investment here, a huge investment, and a return to the state if we can do this. And I would commend this one, and I'd urge the Minister to take this to the appropriate departments.
Thank you, Deputy.
Yeah, just in addition to that, I mean, there's certainly no problem. I mean, I will bring that to both departments. I've said that, made that very clear. Minister Paschal couldn't be here tonight, and he would like to have been here himself to respond. It's not just an issue for this government. I mean, we're under very clear European regulations when it comes to type-approved requirements for vehicles like this. So it would, as I stressed to you, it would need to be a European solution. That's not something that is something that can be. That doesn't. Sorry, I'm not saying that can't be pushed from this side or from a government, Irish government, but it's certainly, to have this implemented, would need to be at a European level under European regulations. So next week, as an opportunity, I can raise it there, and I will do that. No problem on your behalf. And I'll also be quite happy to maybe bring this to other meetings as well, and to encourage the two ministers to take it on. But it's not a case of silo government at all. I think actually in the last 3 or 4 years we've a lot more joined up thinking between government departments. I myself am a bit of an example of that, because I'm hanging out at 2 departments, and I can tell you it's quite stressful trying to work 2 departments. But joking aside, the idea of that is because we do recognise in a lot of decision making we do need to have cross-government decision making and departments working together on issues. So that will not be a blockage here. If this is something that's doable, it's not a blockage because it has to be sponsored by 2 departments, but it actually is something that needs to be challenged at a European level. You've got more than 2, which you have 2 excellent MEPs and many more that you could link in with to drive at that agenda. I'll certainly raise it at the EU Commission level, and then our ministers will bring it forward there too. But something like this needs a coordinated approach across the board, but it's something that is doable once it's coordinated properly.
Thank you, Minister. Next is Deputy Thomas P. Bruin to the Minister for Transport, Tourism and Sport. The need to amend legislation to address the low rate of prosecutions for drink driving offences. Deputy, 4 minutes.
Thanks, Cathaoirleach.